Hey guys, I'm really pissed off today. I'm really pissed off because of an incident that took place today. Hey guys, let me just. I'm really give me a second. Pissed off
I think
today.
I'm double hearing myself. Yeah, give me a
I'm
second.
really pissed off. Yeah. So sorry about that. Audio was coming through somewhere else, but yeah, I'm really pissed off today. Yeah. So let me tell you what happened today. So I left home and I came downtown Hollywood. I came to downtown Hollywood and I was going about, you know, to get some sorbet and or something to eat, right? And I just felt a bit peckish. And while walking, a Caucasian man, white man, beckoned me over, and he looked homeless, as they say in modern time, unhoused. But I wasn't sure because he was like right between that threshold of looking like he had proper clothes on or not so clean clothes on. But I was a distance away, so I couldn't really make it out until I got closer. So when I got closer, he said, I would like to have a conversation with you. I'm like, about? He was like, where are you from? Are you Haitian or Jamaican? No, no, not in that order. He said, are you Jamaican or Haitian? I said, Jamaican. So he said, well, I listen to Bob Marley. You know, I listen to Peter Tosh. I used to smoke weed and I smoke cigarette right now. I said, well, right. Well, you're actually doing something harmful for yourself. So he tossed the cigarette and I said, hey, you can't really be littering, man. The place is clean and you're just tossing your cigarette on the ground. He just kept on talking like he didn't even respond to what I said. Okay, so I'm there listening to his conversation, and he's saying to me that how he liked girls, he liked guys, he liked people, and he just liked to have a good time in life. So I was like, okay. So I'm listening. I'm in my head. I'm wondering where is he going with this, because it appears that this guy's going to ask me for money and maybe he needs something to eat. Okay, but I didn't let that out. I just kept it to myself. So I listened and he was like, yeah, I like Jamaicans and Jamaican people are really cool. I'm like, okay. So what are you saying? He was like, well, look at how I'm dressed, and he lifted his shirt and he was like, look at my what's supposed to be a belt, it's a string, and that's not really like a belt, you know. And I'm like, yeah, but that's what's holding up your pants, right? But the belt, but the string didn't look too crazy. It looked decent, right? And I listened because I'm an empathetic person, right? I figured that he's hungry, he wants something to eat, and I'm just waiting for him to ask me if I could buy something for him to eat. So he kept on talking, and I was like, okay. He says, well, you know, I've been on the streets, I've lived in a home, I had issues with my brother, and I had to leave, and I was on the street for a while. And when I was younger, I used to have a lot of fun. I was a prostitute, and I used to go different places, and I like girls, and I like girls, but they have their boyfriends, and their boyfriends are like really muscular and look angry. I'm like, hey, go back to what you just said. And he just kept on talking as if I didn't hear that. So he was like, yeah, man, but the girls I like don't like me back, you know. And I'm like, hey, go back to what you said. I said, I asked him, say, so you were a prostitute? Sorry, I shouldn't say that word. A prostitute? Sorry, people. You know, YouTube have certain guidelines, so sorry about that. You were a prostitute? And he was like, yeah. I'm like, what kind? It was like, for old white man. I said, oh, so you're gay. You're a homosexual, right? And he said, well, I'm not really a homosexual. I just, I did it because I wanted to earn money. I said, okay, but at right that moment, I felt really uneasy. Really uneasy. So when I said, you're gay, you're homosexual, he said, yeah, okay, you want to do something tonight? I immediately turned and walked away. I immediately turned and walked away. I was disgusted. Right? And probably had I been somewhere else, something else would have probably transpired. The police was sitting right across the street as they normally do downtown Hollywood. And I went on my way, and I went to the food hall that where I was going to go get the sorbet from. But unfortunately, they were closed. Didn't open until 3 to 11. So I turned back around, and I am going back, and he's like waving at me like, hi, hi, hi. I just ignored him and kept on walking because I had to pass him going back where I wanted to go, because there was another ice cream shop. So I went there to see if they had any sorbet, but they had it on fudge, and I didn't want it. I just wanted a in a cup with scoop, and I could, take some scoop and eat it at my leisure and not have to rush it like all fudges are. However, I didn't get it, so I went over to the grocery store. And at the grocery store, I went there and I picked up something. I'm going there to pick up something. So guess who is on the sidewalk sitting towards the grocery store? I didn't know he left. I didn't see him when I came out of the ice cream shop. So he waved at me and said, "Oh, I'm good now. I'm good now. I'm calm down now. I'm good now. I'm good now." Oh, I left out a part of it. When I was walking away, he said, when he said if I want to do something tonight, all right, let me back up. He said, "You look good. You have some money. I need to get something to eat." And I ignored. But let's go back now. So on the way to the grocery store, he said, "Oh, I'm good now. I'm good now." And I just ignored. I didn't even say anything or looked at him. And he was like, "You're looking good today." Right? And I was like, in my head, I'm more annoyed. And I'm like, I have to pass this guy coming back the opposite direction when I'm leaving the grocery store. Right? So I got what I needed at the grocery store. On the way back, he's waving at me. right? Telling me I look handsome. Now, some men would appreciate that. If a heterosexual man looked at another man and say, "Hey, you look handsome, man. You're a handsome guy," but he does it in a very, how should I say, unfeminine like way. Just as a masculine man saying, "Hey, you're a handsome guys. You must get all the girls." I could understand that. But when a man says something to a straight man, it's an uneasy feeling. But when I was first having the conversation or listening to him talk, I didn't I didn't think, or he didn't give off the aura like he was gay, a homosexual. He seems like a straight guy. So me innocently having the conversation with him, and then when he dropped that on me, that asking me if I want to do something tonight, I am telling you people, I am telling you people, I just had to turn and walk away, because had it been somewhere else, had it been where I could possibly helped him to a knuckle sandwich, he would have probably got he would have probably caught a fade. He would have probably caught a fade, right? I don't like when these men that are down low think it's okay to make a proposition to a straight man, like it's an agenda to turn straight men out. This is a controversial topic. Let me tell you, download down low men are the worst kind of men on this planet. Are the worst kind of man on this planet. Down low men. If you're going to be gay, but don't pretend that you're not. Or say you've been with men one time, that doesn't make you gay. Or you tongue kiss a man and that doesn't make you gay. Or you allow a man to slap you on the behind and you laugh about it and don't address it right away, and you're not suspect. Give me a freaking break. Give me a freaking break. Any freaking man that allow another man to touch him in any way that a woman should touch him is freaking gay. And that should piss me off today. For a man, me innocently thinking that he wanted something to eat and go over like I would normally do with anybody else. And then he said he's a prostitute. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that word. He's a prostitute. Right? And then going to ask me if I want to do something tonight because he wants to earn money. Yo, man. Listen. Because of that, it changed my trajectory of what I wanted to do today. I actually wanted to do something on a different subject. And I got here early enough to do something on a different subject. But when that happened, it just changed my aura. And I came and I did the thumbnail and I wrote on the thumbnail and I created a thumbnail. Said I'm disgusted, because I'm truly disgusted. The first time I can remember being approached by a gay man was when I was 18 years old and working at a restaurant called Little Caesars, where one of the co-worker there is gay. And he put his hands on me pinching my cheek, telling me I'm the cutest person in the restaurant. And I'm so handsome. And I asked him, I said, "Are you gay?" Because I wasn't sure. And he said, "Yes." And so what? I said, "Do not touch me again." And he said, "So what if I touch you?" And he was mopping the floor. I said, "Do not touch me again. This is my body, my person. Do not put your hands on me." And he stretched out and tried to pinch my face again, right? And when he realized that he was going to catch a fade, he backed off. And I said, "If you try to touch me again, I'm going to knock you the fuck out." And he said, "If you do, I will sue you." I'm like, "Oh, okay." My mom and my dad are both lawyers. So that was a Friday. And I went home. And when I got back to work on Monday, I was called into the office. "Hey, Garth, come into the office. We need to talk to you." I need to talk to you. The manager called me to the office. He was like, "Garth, there was an incident here on on Friday, and did you threaten so and so?" And I'm like, "He touched me, and he tried to come on to me, and I'm not gay. I'm not a homosexual." And I told him that, and he still tried to touch me again with that same, how should I say, with that same persistence of a woman who likes a man, right? And that was my first encounter of how a man approaches another man when he's interested. But I don't understand why these men that live those lifestyles think it's okay to try to approach a man that they can, unless they're seeing something else, but they can obviously realize it's not gay, right? But there is another reason why these men do this. So when I got up into the studio, I said, "You know what? I sat down and I thought, I was like, you know what? There has to be a reason why he thought I was. Maybe it's my bald head. Maybe because I'm well dressed and I'm groomed. Because I've been told that I look very, very well dressed, very groomed, and attractive, and I should be okay. And I've been told this by women. I should be okay if a gay man finds me attractive. Keep it to your. I want them to keep that to their friggin' selves. I don't care. A woman now different. So I decided to look for a video and pull up a video, and I'm going to play that video, right? And let Dr. Jones talk about how these men are and why they do what they do, right? And why they do what they do. So, without further ado, let me get that video going. Give me a second here. Give me a second here. No, come back. Uh, where did I put that video? Give me a second, guys. Where did I put that video? Oh, I know. Sorry. All right, so here we go. Sorry about that, guy.
In today's podcast, I am going to be talking about a controversial topic, which is down low men. And I know that I always give a disclaimer at the beginning of the podcast, but on hot topics like this, I definitely would have want to put an extra disclaimer on it. So if you are sensitive or this is a topic that triggers you, just sort of be mindful about what works for you and scroll on past this or come back and listen to it later if that is how you feel about it, if you feel like this is too triggering. But I want to talk a little bit about down low men. And first, I want to talk out. start out by talking about the cultural nuance. Down low is specifically a term that's used in African American culture, but for the purposes of this podcast, I'm going to be talking about men in all cultures. And what down low means is a man that identifies as heterosexual out to the world. He may be married to a woman or partnered with a woman, but he has a secret homosexual lifestyle. So secret homosexual or alternative lifestyle that involves the gay culture. I will say that. The reason why I put the special disclaimer on this podcast is because there were many years ago, I think it was back in the 50s and 70s, all the way up to the 70s, the DSM, which is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, had identified homosexuality as a psychological disorder. Specifically, they diagnosed it as a sociopathic disorder. Now, I don't have access to a DSM 1, 2, or 3, so I can't really get my hands on it. I did kind of, research around and look for it for a little bit before doing this podcast, so I'm not sure what the parameters around that was. However, if I had to take a guess, my guess would be that they were referring to down low men as being sociopathic. And I think down low men actually fit in perfectly with everything that sort of describes narcissistic personality disorder. When you talk about, narcissists are notorious for living a double life, keeping secrets. Down low men are very much living a double life. So why don't we just go ahead and get into it? So with a down low man, again, they identify to the world, their family, their friends, their church community, everybody in the public as being heterosexual. They're quite performative in nature in terms of being married to or partnered with a woman. However, they have a life that they keep secret or hidden from the woman that they're with in their community, but specifically the woman that they're with, and where they seek out relationships with, or they live an alternative gay lifestyle, which is a double life that the woman has no idea about. She may be thinking that she's married to this man and is creating a life with this man. They may have a house together. They may have children together. They may have built businesses together, and here he has a secret lifestyle that she knows nothing about, and also did not consent to. And I think that's the caveat with down low men, is that they're leading a life in secret, which their partner does not consent to. And I think that's the distinction between someone that is questioning and doesn't know who they are, and they're just kind of trying to figure themselves.
Do you see why they are the worst kind of men on the planet? These down low men, no matter what ethnic group or racial identity they identify with, they are the worst. They are the scourge of the freaking earth. Right? These men, these down low men. Let's continue.
Out. I think there's a distinction between, like, okay, I may be in a place where I'm trying to figure out my sexuality. I may be trying to figure out what I like or what I'm into, or I want to explore myself. The distinction between why that then becomes problematic is when someone is questioning or exploring themselves. You have every right to do that. However, The problem becomes when you are in a relationship and that other person does not know and does not consent to what you're doing. I think that's the caveat, is that everyone involved needs to know what they are signing up for. Because if I didn't sign up for this, or if I'm believing that you and I are building hopes and dreams and you're doing something, you're committing a huge betrayal behind my back that has several implications. That's where the sociopathic index really comes into play, and which is what I think may have led them to make that a diagnostic criteria back in the day. And I actually do think that there is a whole lot of pathology behind this that more people should be talking about, and why, and I'm going to get into why this type of personality is very dangerous, and what the implications are for both the women and the men that are
Mm-hmm.
involved in these relationships with down low men is. So I want to, I was
She talks about the pathology or the diagnosis that the institute or institution came out with, right? And I have my understanding or personal understanding of why this phenomenon of so many people being alternative, right? People, I noticed that in a lot of our foods there are ingredients that was never there before. And one of those ingredients is soy. And I'm telling you from personal experience, soy has a negative effects on men and women. It is a strong estrogen component, right? If too much estrogen is in a man, he's going to operate like a woman. If too much estrogen is in a woman, she's going to operate like a man. But here's what's crazy. Oftentimes, when a woman is with child, she's pregnant, the doctors will tell her to drink soy milk. The doctors will tell them to drink soy milk. I remember when my child's mother was pregnant with our daughter, the doctor told her to drink soy milk. And by that time, I'd already realized that soy had a negative effects because I used to drink soy. When I came off of drinking cow's milk, I started drinking soy, and it had a negative effect on my body. And my friend who worked at a restaurant, who who in that restaurant sold soy-based meat, they called veggie meat, which is made from soy. She always say to me, "So Shy, don't eat that. It's not good." And I did not listen, and I kept on eating it until something happened one day, and I couldn't understand why it was happening. And I won't get into that, right? But once it happened, I realized it took my body 1 year to purge it out. Soy is a deadly product or food when it comes to a male and a female. It makes male operate very feminine when they have too much of it in their body, and it does the same for a woman when it makes a woman act very masculine when she has too much in her body. That's why you have so many female presenting men and male presenting women, right? What they call gay men and lesbians. Let's continue.
always like to give a movie for reference. And I think most of us are very familiar with the movie Brokeback Mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been many years since I watched that movie, but from what I recall, there is a character that's played by Heath Ledger and his girlfriend at the time, Michelle Williams, and then Jake Gyllenhaal is also married. So there's these two couples, and within these two couples, there are two men that are cowboys that like to take this trip to Brokeback Mountain, right? These men like to take these trip by themselves under the guise that they're fishing, hunting, or whatever, and they're just really go running away from their wives to do a romantic escapade every so often. And the trouble that I have with this movie is that I remember when this movie came out and people were talking about it's critically acclaimed and it's like this warm and fuzzy love story between two cowboys. And in my opinion, it could be nothing further from that. It actually is quite scary and it's quite intriguing how they sort of downplayed the actual harm of what the characters, Michelle Williams and the woman that Jake Gyllenhaal was with, how they downplayed um, the psychological and to a certain degree the physical trauma that Michelle Williams went through. So Michelle Williams she's married to Heath Ledger, and I won't go into the whole movie, but she's married to him. They've got kids or whatever, and every time he wants to run off to Brokeback Mountain, he's kind of like dumps her with the kids, and he's like,
To get his back broken. Brokeback Mountain to get his back broken. Huh.
I don't care. Forget the kids. Forget you. I'm out of here. I'm gonna run away with this man. And and there was a point in the movie that I recall that he actually took the kids up to her job. She's like, I got to work. What are you doing? And he's like, I don't care, girl. Take these kids. I got to get out of here. And he just dumped them on her, and he was like, you figure it out, I'm gone. And he just sort of isolates her with the kids and puts all the responsibility, and is just like, fishing is more important, and he's sort of painting this picture, but there's this sort of urgency, and she's kind of like put in a situation where she's got no choice. She's at her job, she's working a cashier, and so now she has to sort of scramble and figure things out. And then there's another point in the movie where like she's like asking her husband, like, what's up, dude? Like, what are you
Hmm.
doing? Like, is there something going on here? He's denying, denying, denying.
You know, I remember I remember years ago when that movie Brokeback Mountain Brokeback Mountain came out. And I was seeing someone and that person asked me, "Are you going to go see the movie?" I'm like, "No." And a friend of mine asked me, "Are you going to go see the movie?" I'm like, "No." "Oh, so shy, are you insecure?" Wait a second here. Wait a second here. You're asking me if I'm insecure because I refuse to go and see a movie of two men engaging in a romantic relationship. And that's not where I want my mind to think towards. So I'm going to be told by my friends, a couple of them, females, women, that I'm insecure because I don't want to go and see that movie. I never did. What interest a straight heterosexual man is going to have going to see a movie of two men being in a romantic relationship? Listen, as a man, I love, love women. They look good. They smell good. They look so delectable. Just think, when I look at a woman, and straight men out there, you know what I'm talking about, and a beautiful woman, or even not so beautiful woman, a woman with a nice shape, or a woman that you're attracted to, something comes over you. It's like a spiritual awakening when you see that woman. How can a straight man have that same feelings towards a man, another man, unless he's a down low individual? Yeah? Let's continue.
And then, if my memory serves me correctly, and forgive me because my memory is kind of fuzzy when it comes to this movie, there's a point where like she confronts her husband after seeing him like making out with like Jake Gyllenhaal. She like catches them making out. So naturally, she's like, "What the hell's going on?" And so she's like, "Did I just see what I thought I saw? Like,
Mm,
explain yourself." And he like grabs her and becomes physical with her, and he's like yelling and is very volatile and hostile with her. And so he became physically aggressive, and he's just like, you don't know what you're talking about, and all this other kind of stuff. And so now she has to deal with that, the psychological trauma of
mm,
like the betrayal, but now there's she also has to face the fear that like, hey, I can't even talk to my husband about some stuff that he's doing without being physically aggressed
mm.
against. And so there is that also. So I want to get right down into some of the reasons why I think down low culture happens and why I think it goes beyond just like, oh, well, I can't really. It goes beyond a man saying that I can't really come out. It's going to have all these impact. It's going to have this impact on my life and my livelihood or whatever. And there's this kind of trapping. There's this, I feel sort of trapped. I'm a victim of circumstance and I can't really be myself authentically. When a man is living on the down low, he has this different life, and the woman that he's with does not know. Right. And we're not even getting into the community, but the woman that he is with does not know. And I think what that movie exemplified is that, you know, like Michelle Williams' character in the movie, one of the reasons why I think down low men are so harmful and toxic and narcissistic, and it's not just about, am I questioning, am I exploring myself, is because very, very similar to what her character displayed in the movie, that
Let me tell you how narcissistic, to that point that she made, how narcissistic these men are. When I was in my 20s and I wanted to be a promoter, and I'd got an opportunity to book a very famous rapper. And that rapper or rap group, that rapper or rap group needed a big enough venue to perform. So I was supposed to meet the owner of that venue at the venue. And when my business partner and I went to go meet the owners of the venue, they told us to come at a certain time. And when we got there, they weren't there. Right? They told us to come at 3 o'clock. I believe that was the time. They told us to come at 3 o'clock. And we got there. And they weren't there. Right? The person we were supposed to meet was not there. So, what had to happen is we had to take a look at the venue. We had to wait until the manager came, and the manager showed us the venue, but the manager couldn't work out the details based on what the owner and myself had prior discussed. Okay, so they said, the owner said, I'm going to be at my other club, come at 10 o'clock. I believe it was 10 o'clock. He said, come. So now my business partner and I went to go. So when we got pull up to the club, we noticed that, like, hey, why is it only men we see at this club? But we thought nothing of it, innocently. So we went up to the door and say, hey, such and such told us, such and such told us to come and have a meeting. So we walked in, and oh my, that club was filled with nothing but Caucasian men. Some partially clothed, no shirt on, and on a stage, a bunch of nude young boys dancing on those platforms, and I almost vomit. I turned to my business partner and said, "Hey, do you, did he ask us to come to this environment to have a meeting?" But I realized why. We met with him, and he told us, "Hey, you guys can hang out." I said, "No, no, no, we're good," and we left. But I realized why. It's because he wanted to introduce us to that lifestyle, right? And I was disgusted by that. And I did not want to do business with him after that. And we end up not doing business with him after that. Other circumstances as to why. However, we were uncomfortable with these two men. And come to find out they were a couple. All right? On South Beach. Let's continue. That's the narcissism that these people have. All right? So let's continue.
A lot of women who are in relationships like this, they are left questioning, like, what's going on in this relationship? Like, is there something that what's coming between my partner and I? Is there something that's happening? I want more of a connection. I need to see what's going on. Maybe we're not being intimate enough, or maybe there's just not enough connection, or maybe, like, when you are with me, you are not emotionally present. And so a lot of women are left questioning what's going on. Am I enough? Like, where's your mind these days? Because again, there are times when these men are not psychologically or emotionally present, or women are emotionally neglected in the relationship. There
Mm,
is a sense of not being attuned to this woman's feelings. There's no way that you could be emotionally attuned. You are living a double life. You are hiding who you are. And so there's some serious, whether we want to admit it or not, there's some serious emotional neglect inside the relationship. Um, and then there's again, in the relationship, their partner, the woman, tries to do things to become good enough, right? Like,
See, that's a word that annoys me when I hear doctors calling, saying that a man and a woman, they use the word partners, right? I know when a man and a woman are together, when a man and a woman is together, I should say, that they are spouses, wife and husband, right? And I used to have a boss, and my boss was gay. And I heard him say he would call his partner, his roommate. And I always wondered why he called his partner his roommate. They're sleeping in the same room. They're two men, right? But at first I was suspicious. I wasn't sure that he was gay. So when he called his partner his roommate, I wondered why. So then he started explaining, and he told me, like, hey, I don't want to say the word partner because people will know and they will be more curious about my lifestyle. I don't want to keep that personal. If they have their opinion about me based on how I speak and how I carry myself, that's their opinion. But I will not come out openly and tell them about my lifestyle. So I don't use the word partner, but the word partner comes from the alternative lifestyle people, right? So when I hear the word partner in common day Lexington, common day speech or speak, and I hear the word partner, it's annoying because I know we were conditioned to say partner because they want to condition all of us to be okay. So we have a fluid situation to where relationships are more fluid. So if you want to be with a man, you can be with a man. If you want to be with a woman, you can be with a woman, because what? There are our partners. That's our partner. So when I hear a doctor, a smart intellectual person using that phrase, I realize that she was conditioned and she's a fool. And all of them that use that term partner are fools, because they were conditioned to use that word, to be fluid in relationships. A man and a woman are companions. If two men want to be together, they're companions. If two women want to be together, they're also companions. But a man and a woman, they're not partners. A man and a woman and a man are not partners. A woman is not equal to a man. And unless they're in business together, they're not partners. Having children together, they have a partnership in that relationship. But in terms of relationship between them, they're not partners. They're spouses. They're spouses, not partners. But this new age of talking about relationships is to get everybody conditioned that we could be fluid in relationship. We can move from male to female. Man, let's continue.
You know, so like I may talk to my partner, you may talk to your partner, and you're like, okay, well, there's this something, there's this unexplainable distance or space between us, and I don't know what it is. I just know that something is off, and I want to try to become good enough. We've had a conversation about things being amiss, and you gave me some sort of bullshit excuse, which is very similar. Sorry for my very similar to what Heath Ledger did with Michelle Williams. He just gave her this like bullshit excuse. I'm fishing. You know, this and that. You know, and a lot of times what you may hear is like, I'm sorry. You know, work is stressing me out, or you know, all these other things. Like, right? And there's just like this weird like space between the two of you. And as a woman, there is an overextension of yourself to try to go above and beyond to communicate with your partner, to fix that rift, to get things back on track, because at one point in time the relationship may have been good, but now there's like this coldness, there's this distance, there's this aloofness. You may even feel like roommates, like ships moving in the night when you're at home together. So there's not a whole lot of real connection. And so you're trying to repair and restore that, you know, going with the excuse because you've been gaslit with a non-valid excuse, and you're trying to actually fix that, but it's not really working. So the math isn't mathing. And of course, it's not going to math because there's this big secret, and you can't fix that type of secret. If you get what I'm saying, you know, women in this type of relationship, again, going back to the movie, which I think they did.
Before I let her continue, so I have a friend, right? And I'm not going to mention names. I'm just going to mention a specific scenario that she's spoken to me about. So my friend was in a relationship with this guy, and he, in his desire to earn money, he would reach out to gay men online, like on Facebook, and he would have conversation with them, right? Intimate conversation with them, and they would send money to him. Now, if you think in terms of that, a man that would go online and look for men that are gay and strike up conversation and with them, right? Romantic conversation with them, and then they would send money. Would you say that this particular individual is suspect, that he has gay tendency or that he's gay. If a man engages another man in conversation in terms of intimacy, even if they have not done it physically, would you say that that person is gay because they have that mindset, or they're not gay because they didn't do the act? If you seek out a man to have intimate conversation with, I would say that that's highly suspect, highly suspicious. But you let me know in the comments what you think.
You know,
Let's
a
continue.
fairly good job of portraying this from what I saw. And again, it's been many years, but women in this relationship are being lied to and they're blamed, about, and given all of these excuses about the lack of intimacy or poor intimacy, right? So the intimacy between the two of you is not good. You guys aren't connecting. You guys aren't touching. So there's a lack of emotional, physical, sexual intimacy. And so you're being lied to and given all kinds of excuses, like I said, about work. And then I think the other like psychological turmoil or things that women have to go through is when they bring it up and they want to fix that they want to fix the intimacy because a lot of women are very much a fixer, and so when you try to fix and repair that, the intimacy can then become abusive or degrading. So the idea behind that is like, if I make it so bad for you, you are not going to want it anymore. So it could be dry, it could be very close to sexual assault. It could be just lackluster, for lack of a better word, or just very much mechanical, right? And the whole idea is like, I'm going to make myself very distant and cold from you, and I'm going to give this woman what she's asking for and what she wants, but I'm going to make it so punitive and degrading that it's going to be
Hmm.
punishment for her. She's not going to like it, and she dare not ask for it again. And the man is now
Wow.
angry that he's put in this position where he feels forced to be intimate with someone that he does not want to be intimate with. Um, Again, in this can also show up in aftercare. And aftercare is like, for those of you who don't know, it's like the space after you've had sex. So most
Hmm.
people, a lot of people, after they've had sex, they like to cuddle and canoodle and spoon and, talk or lay on each other or whatever, right? They want to be close after that.
Hmm.
And so there could be a lack of aftercare when you have, when you're with a down low man. And also there's mixed messages about wanting you, like, I want you but I have a lot on my mind, or right, even right up to intimacy, it's like there's like this push pull energy. It's like, well, damn, we had this conversation about it and you said that you wanted me and you wanted to be with me, but then we get right up to it, and then it's like, it's almost like I'm bamboozled because I don't know, like, or I'm just made to feel horrible for asking for pleasure and intimacy with a partner that I'm married to, right? So there's this mixed messages around it. The person can be very cold and unloving. I mean, even
Hmm.
during intimacy, but just in general, they could be hot and cold and unloving, runner, chaser type of thing, right?
Yeah, because one can be in a relationship, and even though you could be in the very same room with your spouse, your husband, your boyfriend, your wife, your girlfriend, and you somehow you're in a relationship but you're feeling lonely. So that phenomenon does happen, right? And it's because of that specific or that purposeful give and take You show some emotion and then you withdraw. So it's a give and take. You show some emotion and then you withdraw. But the withdrawal is much longer. And after a while, that becomes so overwhelming that you start feeling lonely in the relationship while having so much inside that you want to give to your spouse. You end up feeling lonely, you feel isolated, and you're wondering, how can I fix this? Right? But you can't fix it because the person wants you to be in that very spot, that very existence. And that's where the narcissism comes in, because now they have a control over you and how you respond and how they respond to you to get you in line to behave how they want you to behave. Right? Let's continue.
And so there's this dynamic where, like, you know, I there's really mixed messages around love and connection in general between the two of you. And then, I think also too, part of the psychological trickery around, being with a down low partner, a down low man specifically, is that, there's a lack of or an unwillingness to solve, communicate, or
And she point out down low men, but don't get it twisted. They are down low women too, because I was in a relationship with a down low woman. And the only reason I found out that she was down low was because one day I left work feeling enthusiastic, bought a bunch of roses, a dozen roses, right? I had a card, and I had chocolate covered strawberries, right? And because I'd worked so much, the manager said, "Hey, I'm going to give you time off because whenever I need anyone to fill in, I can count on you. And you have already worked 12 hours. So you worked 12 hours before, you worked so many hours a day before. I'm going to let you go early. So just come in, clock in, and then once you clock in and you're here for like an hour or two, I'll send you home and then I'll clock you out later." So he let me go home. And so I went to her house and I hear moaning and groaning. I'm like, what's going on? I'm not in a room with her. So why am I hearing moaning and groaning? So I went up to her room window and I looked in, and it was her and her best friend making out, kissing, going at it. And so I knocked on the window and they were startled. And she asked me, "What are you doing here? I thought you would be at work." And I said, "Oh, so this is why you always get upset when your best friend come in town and she doesn't come and see you, right?" And that's how I realize that women are also down low too. They will sneak out and they won't consider cheating, because she didn't consider cheating because she said that's a woman, that's not a man, so she's not cheating. But that was very much cheating, because I know how I felt, because I wasn't doing that to her with any gender, right? And like I said earlier, my only preference is women. So they are down low women as well. Let's continue.
talk about intimacy issues, or even if they do communicate, there's a lack of unwillingness, there's a resistance to wanting to come to a resolution about those issues, right? And I would go back to, throughout the duration of the relationship, including during intimacy, but just in general, a download man can have feelings of resentment that is targeted towards women, not only just feelings of resentment, but also feelings of hatred. And I would go so far as to say this is not just for the woman that they're in a relationship with, but also the man that they're in the secret relationship with.
Mm.
There is, and this is where, the coup de grace of like the harm comes in, because like the woman and the homosexual man that a down low man is able to be with, those two people are typically living in their truth. They are showing up authentically and living lives
Mm.
authentically as themselves, with the exceptions of this shoddy relationship with this down low man. They're typically walking in their truth. They're showing up authentically. They're
Mm-hmm.
being empathetic. They're understanding and they're working with this man. And a down low man typically hates that because those two are doing something that he can't, won't, or doesn't for whatever his own personal reasons are. They are a representation of everything that he is not.
Mm-hmm.
People that are giving, people that are caring, people that are authentically showing up in the world as themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that he feels is
Mm-hmm.
that these people are able to do something that I can't do. They are so damn
Mm-hmm.
privileged to show up and be themselves, and I hate them for it. He hates you for it. I don't care what anybody says. He hates you for it. And the reason being is because for whatever reason, he feels like he can't, won't, or doesn't show up in that way for himself. And that is his probably his that is his deepest insecurity that he has about himself, is that he can't show up and authentically be who he is. So to
Mm-hmm.
hell with everybody else who can. Um, there's avoidance and escapism. And again, I feel like that's kind of what I've been describing: avoidance and escapism in the bedroom and in the relationship in general. And I think how that shows up is like, excuses. I've got to go out. I'm going to be gone for long periods of time that are unexplained. I just need to disconnect. There are things that I do to you to make me want to disconnect. When a down low man is in a relationship with a woman, he does things intentionally to disconnect, to escape that relationship. So that may look like starting a fight, making it seem like everything is all her fault so he can run out the back door and be gone
Mm.
for the weekend or gone for the night, right? Or needing space, all sorts of diversions and things like that that are used to avoid and escape. But again, when he avoids and escapes, he usually is dumping her with all of the responsibility of everything that goes on within the relationship or within the home. There is the avoidance of he avoids and escapes responsibilities not only of her, but also the relationship and everything that it encompasses. So very similar to what we saw in Brokeback Mountain when Heath Ledger fled out the back door, just dumped the kids. He didn't care what happened to Michelle Williams or the kids because when he's gone up that mountain, he's unreachable. So
Mm-hmm.
whatever happens with her and the kids, she's going to have to figure it out until he gets back. She doesn't know when he's coming back. He'll just get back when he gets
When he
back. And
gets
he just
back.
sort of has this life of freedom where he's disconnected from his family and he could essentially care less about what is happening with them. Um, you know, while he's gone. And very similar to that, on the flip side of that, when he's with Jake Gyllenhaal, the man he's with, although he still has these romantic feelings for him,
Mm-hmm.
he's not, whatever happens to Jake Gyllenhaal when he's not there, he's not really in tune with that. So he's one foot in and one foot out with both, right? Like, so he can't be fully present with either one of those two. He can't even be fully present with himself
Right.
because
Mm-hmm.
he's running so much from everything and avoiding everything and everybody and just avoiding the truth, right? He's
Mm-hmm.
just in and out, in and out. And so, when he outside of those couple times a year he goes up to Brokeback Mountain, he's living this other life and he's completely disconnected, if my memory serves me right. But even if it doesn't, most people, once they've disconnected with one person, they've stepped foot. It's almost like you just open the door and you walk into an alternative life and you're just living that for the moment.
Thank you, Dr. Jones. That's Dr. Natalie Jones, right? I believe she's a what psychologist, doctor, right? So just understand this, guys. When I say from the thumbnail that I'm disgusted, was because of how a down low man tried to proposition me today for what he like he's been a prostitute, right? And he wants money, he's hungry, and I didn't understand that he was unhoused or homeless, and he tried to proposition me to be with him so he can earn money. And that's why I say down low man are the scourge of the earth. They are the worst type of man. Listen, I don't care if a person wants to be gay. If you want to be homosexual, be homosexual. That's your wish. That's your preference. But leave the woman alone. Don't use the woman to cover who you truly are. Because all you're doing, you're ruining her. And if you have children together, you're ruining the children, because children are cruel. And if they find out, they will ridicule your children because they found out about your lifestyle. If you want to be down low, it's the worst thing for the rest of the populace. Just come out of the closet. Be proud of who you are. Because oftentimes your action turns out to be very adversarial in relationships and to other people, and it brings diseases, right? In that community carries, most of those people in that community suffer from the disease, right? HIV, right? And so if you're going to extend yourself into that environment, just come out. Leave the woman alone. Don't cover up who you are. And this is happening in all facets of life. In business, there is a man that I know. He lives in a different state, and I won't mention the state. And every time he comes down to Florida, I always see, when I'm downtown Hollywood, he's a businessman, a Caucasian man. But every time I see a gay guy, a gay black guy, brown skinned guy, right? Or what they call African American or American African, trailing behind him, switching his behind, trailing behind him every single time. And as long as I've known this man, I've seen that. But I keep my mouth to myself. I keep that to myself. I observe, I see, I know what he's up to, and I know what he's doing. He's an older white man and a young black boy, right? I don't really like those terms, but for all intensive purposes of having this conversation, right? These are the worst type of men. And so that's why today I was disgusted. Because rather than him coming out, the man that needed food come out and ask me, hey, you have a couple of dollars? I'm hungry. He tried to proposition me for that kind of lifestyle. And that, my friends, disgusts me. Disgusts me. All right? So please understand why I'm upset. Well, guys, on that note, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to wrap it up for that. It was what I was meant to do today, but I had to get it out. I had to get it out. Right? Remember, one love and respects. And always question everything. Because if you don't, you may fall for anything. Think and say. Have a good day.